During the challenge, there were stupid moments.
Are you serious? What the? What the fuck? What? What? Ah, jeez. Maybe not a good idea. Yeah, not a good idea. I'm just gonna let him leave. This is dangerous because he can spawn lightning anywhere vertically, and you won't even see the particle.
Snake, what's wrong? Answer me, please! Snake! Snake!
There were cliche moments.
You get so lost when you're attacking.
There were scary moments.
Bomb, 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 bomb.
There were no hype moments, which is really weird. Because I was playing Longsword, and Longsword generates hype on a regular basis. Primary resource that grows on a bar, so... How does that even happen? That's the question I had for myself when I finished the stream, at least. And by finishing, I mean quit. It wasn't a completion. I only finished 24 out of the 31 monsters. Why would that happen though? That's the big question. I was stuck on a monster for 4 hours, but that was probably the best 4 hours that could happen in the stream. Not because of the suffering, not because of the push-ups or even the gameplay. Like I was a dick. I was in a terrible state where I was taking what a viewer said as an attack, even though it was a question. Like,
it's time to stop! It's time to stop, okay?
I was just completely out of it, and I apologize. Even if the way that I responded was me thinking, I don't think my line of behavior there was acceptable to respond to another human being like that. So I apologize for that. Besides that, I reached that state where I felt lost and I felt stuck. And this was very important to reach, because if I never reached this, then I would have never learned what I needed to learn. So what did I learn then? And why did this happen to begin with? So what I did learn right there for failing those 4 hours was understanding that that didn't just happen for no reason. In other words, that happened for a reason. Double negative, sorry. What was that reason? That's what I wanted to figure out. So at the end of the stream, after I failed those 4 hours, when I couldn't pass that Kieran, I started experimenting. I wanted to see what would change, what would be different. Because I wanted to understand why I was the shitter, why I was failing those 4 hours. It didn't matter about the fucking push-ups. It didn't matter about the fact that, you know, I had to do more pull-ups. All it had to do with was just me failing. And I wanted to understand that. So I finally put on armor after I started fighting the Kieran, and I wanted to test something. I wanted to say, okay, well, if I had armor on, what's different, right? Is it going to be the same as if I had armor off, or if I was, in other words, doing the challenge that I was doing? And what I found was it wasn't. It was completely different. Now, how can this be? It's actually what I had in my head that was causing me to not create any hype, to not play optimally, to play like a bitch is another way of putting it. And I became this shitty player that I was trying not to be, that I explained during the stream, right? I didn't want to circle jerk the monster. I didn't want to run around the monster and just wait for an opportunity. But that's what ended up happening in the later parts. Basil Geese, Urigan, all these monsters that had bombs, I had to play opportunist. I wasn't controlling the monster. I wasn't even controlling the character at that point. So why would this happen? That's the big question, right? Let's think about this for a second. What happens when somebody taps you on the shoulder? You say, oh, hey, what's going on? And they just keep tapping your shoulder. And that tap turns into maybe like a slap next time, right? And more and more and more until finally it's like a punch. And eventually that kicks in. It becomes an impact to you, and you want to make it stop, because that's pain, right? Nobody wants to feel fucking pain all the time. Then eventually you're going to question, okay, why am I getting this? What's going on? Because logically your brain wants to figure out what is causing this. What is causing this trigger of pain to happen? And you would find out, oh, it's that person. So what are you gonna do? I'm just gonna avoid the person, right? That would avoid the fist, that would avoid the slap, that would avoid the annoyance of being tapped on the shoulder. So similarly, let's say I was just talking about push-ups, right? It was, what happened was I was focusing so much on to avoid the push-ups that those became the thoughts, right? That became what I was trying to do. It no longer became about completing the challenge, right? That's what it should have been about, but it wasn't. So what happens then is you start to think And that's the problem. If you've ever heard the whole phrase of just do, don't think, right? Unless you're actually trying to think through something like engineering or trying to solve a problem. But if you think about things too much, then you lose the action. You lose your ability to be. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I was avoiding the push-ups. And because I was avoiding the push-ups, I was creating thoughts in my head that said, hey, how are you going to avoid the push-ups? What was the challenge? Clear all 31 monsters, no armor, and if I died, I would do 20 push-ups and 3 pull-ups. Now, it's different in the beginning because there was a few monsters that, the ones that don't even have tempered versions of them, they killed me when I had no armor, so I did 30 push-ups and 5 pull-ups instead of the 20 and 3. So that was the challenge. Why would it be adverse from completing the challenge? If for those 10 hours, something kept tapping my shoulder, punching my shoulder, or causing pain to my body, which in the case of working out is something that happens, right? You know, why doesn't 100% of the population work out? Because they don't want pain. Same thing. So if it was pain that I was avoiding, then eventually what happened was I was avoiding the situation. So if I negate both sides of that equation of the criteria, it would be, if I don't do the challenge, I don't have to do the push-ups. And conversely, if you flip that, it's in order to not do push-ups, I just don't have to do the challenge at all, right? Unconsciously, which is out of my control, I may have been thinking, hey, what the fuck am I doing this shit? Like, I don't have to be doing this. Obviously, I was nowhere near my limit, right? I mean, I was just telling myself that I was at my limit. 1,500 push-ups may sound like a big number, but it's split amongst 10 hours, so that's only 150 an hour, right? So that's not a big deal. And again, these are in sets, so it's not like I just knocked them all out. The push-ups were an excuse for me. The push-ups were something that caused me to think about what I'm trying to avoid. And because I tried to avoid something, I no longer focused on the actual challenge itself. So a better way to picture this actually is to think about thoughts in general. No. Not those thoughts. Thoughts, right? Inside of your head, inside of your mind, or maybe for some people inside of your heart, however you want to look at it. But thoughts are... thoughts are kind of mental processes that go on inside of our heads, right? They're executables if you think of them in that way. If you think of our brain or our mind or our heart, however you want to look at it in any philosophy of data processing that goes on in the human survival or life, they're executables, right? So what happens is you start off with one thought, right? The first thought that says, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to complete the challenge. Okay, what is the challenge? Number 2. Now I create another thought and I say, okay, the thought of challenge itself means that I must have constraints. These constraints are anytime I die, I have to do 20 push-ups and 30 pull-ups. Okay, I've created that and I've established after a certain point, once the pain starts kicking in, body is now going to say, hey man, that pain is not necessary. It's actually pretty bad for the body, right? Because, you know, you don't want to pursue pain because pain means death. At least that's what the pain receptors have done for us evolutionary wise. They've created a way of surviving for us. That's good because we have evolved from this. We've learned that the more pain we take, chances are we're going to eventually die if we get too much, right? Because you die of shock and all that stuff. But the brain at that point is then saying, okay, I need to avoid the pain. And what I'm going to do is say, okay, we need to stop. Next thing is gonna be, oh shit, I need to think about how I can avoid these push-ups. And the second that comes in, the second that you start avoiding, is when a whole storm of thoughts will come in. What do I mean by this? Hey man, you suck. Hey, don't die. Don't get hit by that. Fucking hit by that. I can't believe you got hit by a fucking jackass man. And all these thoughts come in over and over and over and over again. Until finally you don't realize you're not even playing the game anymore. So what are you playing at that point? Really, you're not. It's your unconscious. So assuming we had multiple threads per se, the unconscious and conscious, and we only had control of the conscious, then we'd have to say that the unconscious is therefore out of our control. Then that means that the conscious mind, while we're playing with the conscious mind, is controlling the character. And when we're not consciously playing the character, it's our unconscious mind. So what is happening when we lose control? It's really just the unconscious mind taking over, and it's saying, okay, you're gonna fucking die if I don't take over, man. I'm gonna start taking over. But that's because we are not aware of this happening. What do I mean by that? Well, say that we have a shit ton of thoughts, right, that just take over. To think of this in like a task manager or even as simple as like the idea of fucks, right? Like how many fucks can you give, right? Like when you say someone gives 0 fucks, what does that actually mean? That means that they don't care. Things are gonna happen and they're not gonna care. But the problem is we start to care about it because we know that it's gonna cause us pain. But what we don't see is that thought. What we don't see is what the thought is doing, and until we become aware of that, the unconscious takes over. So what's happening then is really just that we lose control because of the thought that happens, and eventually all the negative thoughts just start piling up and piling up until finally all you have in your head is negative thoughts, or avoiding these negative thoughts, or avoiding the pain. And once you start with that, you're stuck in a feedback loop of being out of control. So what does this mean though? I have a shit ton of fucks basically that I'm not giving to what does that mean? That means I'm putting all my fucks towards these negative thoughts, and I have less fucks to give for the positive thoughts, or the ones that are going to give me actual results, the ones that are going to allow me to clear the missions, to actually kill the monsters, right? That's no longer a possibility. So to get that back, you have to become aware. There's no other way. But what exactly happens then if that's the case? What happens is exactly what happened. I mean, I'm not gonna make you watch the 10 hours if you don't want to watch it, but it's shameful. I mean, it's just, you feel like an idiot after you understand what happened. All it was though for me was simply that I had armor the entire time. I just chose not to wear it, right? I had it in my box, but I chose not to wear it. And then in my mind, I had armor the whole time, but I chose not to wear it. Instead, what I decided to play as was, oh shit, if I get hit, I'm dead. Right, let's consider for a second that I had armor on. What would that mean? Let's say you're playing, other games, right? More armor means more mistakes you can make, because every time you make a mistake, you get hit, right? It's just that's the way it is. So once you're in that mindset where you can make mistakes, you can fail, you can mess up, you can go after something, then you can play optimally, because you don't have to focus on these negative things anymore. You're just playing the game to play the game, right? That's the fun of playing the game. Why we play the game in the first place. But at that point, I wasn't playing the game. I was playing a different game. I was playing avoidance. I was playing little shitter in a fucking corner over there. I didn't want to fucking play the game. I wanted to avoid pain. I wanted to avoid the fucking workout, right? That's what happened. And the only way I was able to realize this was because Kieran kept destroying me. I mean, for the first time after the first run, like I mentioned before, I was on a downward fucking slope. Like, it was getting worse and worse and worse until finally, like I said, I just blew up on a viewer. I didn't explode, but I mean, like, I acted in a way that was not humanly appropriate. Like, I straight up, just watch it.
This is dangerous because he can spawn lightning anywhere vertically, and you won't even see the particle. See, no particle. No fucking particle. You can counter everything, but that's the thing though. So I'm trying to figure out the timing. You're right. Nah, I fucking sucking at that was a good comment, but so that's the thing. You play the gamble every time you go for it, because you're not invulnerable the entire time. You're invulnerable for the first tick. After that, you get power armor. So if I had evasion mantle, that would give me the entire duration, but
But let's think about this for a second. What can we do about this then if that's the case, right? And what is the takeaway from this? The takeaway is simple, actually. If you go back to what I was saying, the second I put the armor back on, I started playing fine. And I'm not gonna say that, after I did the reflection that I was able to clear it. It's not something that just happened, right? I mean, I was able to kill it with the armor on because I had armor on, but the way I was playing was different because I trusted the armor. It was the stats that gave me confidence, right? And that's not something that it should be. It should be confidence in my abilities. It should be confidence in knowing that I'm gonna clear this, not knowing that my gear is gonna succeed for me. That's pointless. But the takeaway I got from this, at least, was we all have our armors. We all have these things that keep us safe. We have friends, we have family, we have insurance, we have job security, we have plenty of things, material goods to keep our validation. All these things that just keep us who we are. But the second we lose them, are we still able to function the same way we are before? No. Take our armor off, we're scared. We don't want pain. We don't want to be something we're not. We don't want to be seen as something else. It's like a hermit crab, right? They're most vulnerable when they're not wearing that shell because they don't have a home. They don't have armor. But what changes when the hermit crab is not wearing the shell? I mean, yeah, he loses the home, but the rest of the functionality stays the same, right? It's still the same hermit crab. He's still got to go for the food. He's still got to do daily functions. He's still got to be the same hermit crab. But he feels, or she feels, whatever gender you decide to make your hermit crab, they feel that they're no longer who they were. And they need to get another shell because they've outgrown it, right? Without armor, we're trying to avoid certain things. And in that case, it is life and death for the hermit crab. But for the hermit crab to act optimally, all it has to do is believe that it has a shell. And it's the same thing that happened to me. But what it did teach me is that when I'm not wearing armor in the game, when I don't have stats, I should be playing the same way. I should be expressing myself the same way. I should be the same person no matter what. And not because of the gear, not because of the stats, it shouldn't matter. What should matter is who I express myself as, what I choose to do. And I counted the amount of hates that I took with the armor on. I mean, of course I would have died 12 or 13 times with that on, but it pushes me in the right direction, right? There's no way if I kept wearing the armor off and I kept thinking down that same downward spiral that I would have been able to make the progress that's needed to fight it. And of course, obviously at some point I'm going to get the muscle memory, I'm going to get the patterns down, the timing of the Kieran. But even with that in mind, that wouldn't be me playing, that would be me responding. That would be the muscle memory playing for me. You can't create hype from that. You can't create cool plays. If you're playing other games, you can't create cool things in your job like that. If you want to actually get success, quote, quote, or enjoy what you're doing, it doesn't come from that. It comes from the flow, getting into the hype, in my case, getting into the feeling of playing just to play. And once I understood that, I realized it didn't matter about the push-ups to that. If I was playing as me, I wouldn't care. I'd take those push-ups. I would just keep playing it out. But what happened is I got stuck here and I didn't even know. It just happened, right? You know, you think about things too much and it catches up and you lose track of who you are. You lose track of how to talk, you lose track how to play, you lose track how to live, right? So if there's anything I wish that anyone can take away from this, it's that we all have this armor. We all have this that keeps us safe at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, say we lose that. Say we, for some reason, have to change. Say for some reason, everything that we knew just disappeared. We lose that armor. At the end of the day, all we have is us. Whoever you are, whoever I am, whoever you are. You don't need the armor. What you need is the understanding of who you are without that armor and who you are with the armor. And if you can merge them together and become a better person without wearing your armor, then you will actually grow. And I think that's the most important thing. I feel that that's the most important thing that I gained from this. It's not about the fact that I made push-ups. It's not about the fact that I cleared 24 monsters. It's not about the fact that I stayed in it for 10 hours. It's the lesson that I got, which is that I was the one holding myself back. That it was my own thoughts, my own constructs of what was going on that made it impossible for me to complete this and impossible for me to grow during the stream. And at that point, it didn't even matter about completing it in the stream. It's about me trying to avoid push-ups again. That was the excuse. So if there's anything I wish that you guys could take, it's again that you have armor, you have no armor, you have both, however you want to look at it. But at the end of the day, you have the choice of deciding, am I the same person with or without my armor? I wish for all of us, for my sake, for your sake, that we learn it's okay not to wear armor. We'll still be the same person, and there's nothing for us to avoid, but there's everything for us to gain. So I hope that helps, as it did help me, and I hope you were able to learn something from that. I'm Adam Slamfulu. Thank you so much for watching.